Hello, and welcome to Guys Dealings with Feelings, the podcast dedicated to addressing men's mental health issues and providing practical solutions. My journey has been profoundly shaped by the tragic loss of my son, and through this experience, I've gained valuable insights. I'm here to share what I've learned and continue to discover along the way. If you find this podcast helpful, please like, share, subscribe, and follow us wherever you're listening. Following us and your 5-star rating can make a significant difference in spreading our message and potentially changing someone's life. You can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts under Guys Dealings with Feelings, and on YouTube and Instagram at I2U Thrive. That's the number 2, the letter U, and the word thrive. So today I'm so happy to have Daniel McQueen on. I'm really looking forward to hearing how he turned his rock bottom into his foundation. Daniel's a motivational speaker who derived his philosophies through his own experiences. He has had 2 traumatic brain injuries and has been able to overcome the hurdles that come with that. He is here today to talk about using your trauma to your benefit by changing your mindset and perspective. He is so grateful for all the care and help that he received through his journey. He wants to give back by speaking about his experiences and teaching others how they can transform their lives and reach their goals. I'm so glad you could join me today, Daniel.
Aaron, thanks for having me on the show. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. We've got similar paths, I believe, to where we've gotten to where we've gotten. I lost a son in an accident 11 and a half years ago and completely changed my life. I talk about rock bottom as being our foundation, and I'm eager to hear your tale and how it's gone and how you've shifted things around. So if we can start off, if you can just share your story and kind of let us know about the injuries that you suffered. You can or can't, it's completely up to you, but I'm not necessarily looking for details. I don't know if it was an accident or whatever, but if it was details that you find necessary, please share them. If you don't need to share them. And then the long journey that I can only imagine the recovery that came with it.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. And sorry to hear about your loss. And the work you're doing here is important. I think men's health is something that I really gravitate towards now and try to share my story to help you show the way out is through. So my story takes place in jolly old London, England in 2014. So take you back there in a time machine. Living my best life, working in tech, big nights out, blow my paycheck in a single weekend. You get paid once in London, which took me a few months to realize, unfortunately. But those first few weekends were pretty rad, man. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
Started having these headaches. They got worse after a few weeks. Taking painkillers like candy for them, my head was pounding. Headaches got so bad, I was on the tube one day. The tube's how you zigzag around London. Lumbering towards Nine Hill Gate tube station on the District Line. Lumbering being the operative word, the District Line is a slow roll at best. Headaches were so bad, my vision started to go starry. And started slowly fading to black. It was a race. Arrived at Nine Hill Gate tube station, stepped onto the platform, mind the gap. And the lights went out. The curtain fell. I couldn't see. I was blind. Now, Aaron, I want to ask you, in that situation, how would you react and respond to that sort of circumstances?
Panic, I would think. If not externally, definitely internally.
Well, I tell you what I did. I was terrified, but I didn't do anything. I stood there and I thought some more, and I thought some more. After the longest 3 minutes of my life, my vision came back. And I carried on my day. I went back to A&E the next day and told them what had happened. It's not normal. I was blind in a tube station. What the hell's going on here? Let's figure this out. They ran some tests, and again, they thought it was vertigo. They sent me home. But on the way out, they told me I could always get my eyes checked in an optometrist the next day. Next day, they headed me back with a vengeance. Pain was stifling. Found myself in Mr. Patel's chair. He was midway through a routine exam when he stops the exam. Excuses himself from the room, and he comes back a few minutes later with a sealed envelope, which he hands to me. He tells me to go directly to Moorfields Hospital, which I did. Aaron, tell a lie. I stopped at home first to grab a Jack Reacher book by Lee Child, the phone charger to Mike Teat. Then I went to Moorfields Hospital, handed them that sealed envelope. They ran the same tests again, then escalated me up to Charing Cross Hospital. This is good, I'm thinking. We're getting to the bottom of this. This is fantastic. Now, it turns out I had a dangerous buildup of pressure in my brain, caused some growth in my pineal gland. Prevented the fluid from my brain drain as it normally would. Turns out I required emergency brain surgery tomorrow. It turns out my world would change altogether. After a frantic back and forth with folks in Canada, the last text message my mum received reads, "I'll see you soon, Mum. Think I'll have a new haircut next time I see you. Love, Dan." Mum's in the air flying to London on June 21st, 2014. I'm on the operating table. Something goes horribly wrong. I have a massive bleed in the brain. Then the cyst burst when they operated. Mum lands and finds I'm in critical condition. I was in a coma for 4 weeks. I was not out of consciousness for months after this. Things were dicey as shouldn't go. When all was said and done, I learned how to walk, talk, and smile again. That's kind of where things kicked off for me, Aaron.
Wow. So the result of just everything that happened in that operating room, you were down to where you didn't know how you is it you can't remember how to talk and walk and all those things? How what I don't know. I don't know about a bunch about TBE, so I apologize, or
No,
TBI.
no stress, man. No stress. So it's
Yeah.
the leg had atrophied in the coma, so it was not viable. And I couldn't speak because the tracheotomy fried my vocal cords. I told my parents he may not be able to speak again. His vocal cords are fried. The way the nurse got me talking again was she took me down to the park. Some kids playing football, soccer across the park. And she goes, "Damn, those kids across the park. They don't think you're good enough to talk, Dan. They don't think you're good enough to talk." And I found out pretty quickly that's a motivator for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I yelled across the park some profanities I'll spare you and your listeners, but let's just say I found out what motivated me and I hammered that. Tell me I can't do something, I'll bend the world to prove you wrong. Walking was a bit more difficult. Wheelchair took 45 minutes, then 40, then 35, then 20, then 15, then 10, then 10, then 7, then 6, then 5. It was so arduous and difficult to get in the wheelchair. I'd wear a splint over my left leg. A splint's like a cast you over your leg muscle to
Mm.
gently tease out the leg, they tell me. That's the baggage I was sold. And the first night, to their credit, it was no easy. It was too easy, no stress. This will be easy. I thought this will be easy. It's not going to be easy, is it, Aaron?
Mm-mm.
After the second night, after 20 minutes, it was painful. After 30 minutes, it was dreadful. After 40 minutes, it was unbearable. I buzzed the nurse, "Take the splint off my leg, please. I can't handle the pain." But I tell them tomorrow we're doing this for an hour. I'm a walker. I can handle the pain. Big talk. Third night, they wrap my leg. They tie it off at the ankle. Give me the clicker, the nurse call button. They go patrol the Wilson ward. Now, the Wilson ward was an L shape, so short on this side, long on this side, okay? Short on this side, long on this side. Leave me in that hospital room that smells like only a hospital room can smell like. Sanitized, sterilized. It's clean, but you wonder what sort of atrocities have been committed under the guise of this lemony essence. After only 10 minutes, the leg's painful. After 20 minutes, the leg's dreadful. After 30 minutes, the leg's unbearable. I start passing the clicker back and forth, trying to distract myself from the pain. Now, for those watching the stream, you can see I'm wearing an eye patch. That's to counteract the double vision I've got from the brain injury. Lovely holdover from that, which means I can't see much of the clicker going back and forth. As the pain ratchets up, my throws get more enthusiastic. Until eventually, inevitably, I drop the clicker and it lands on the hard linoleum floor 3.5 feet down the ground. Shit. Look over the edge of the bed. I see the clicker there on the floor looking back at me. If I get to that clicker, I can stop this pain. I can end this monstrosity. Only problem was a fall from that height might break my arm. In fact, I figured about a 50-50 chance you'd break my arm. A coin flip. Not the best odds. I changed tack. I'm trying to undo the splint, but it's tied up at the ankle, not the hip. I can't reach that far down. I'm not that flexible. But that ward the Wilson was an L shape, right? Short on this side, long on this side. Short on this side, long on this side. They're at the far end of the ward. They can't hear me for help. It's time to flip the coin. Drop down and grab the clicker, even if I break my arm. This is the most important thing in my world right now. This is number 1, 2, and 3. Blow myself off the edge of the bed, and I crash down in an absolute heap. Blankets, wires, cables is all a go. The arm, it holds, Aaron. And I hammer the clicker, expecting the nurses to come bursting into the room like the bats have been put up. They kind of stroll in 5 minutes later. "Waiting on the floor, love." "First of all," I say, "that's a fantastic British accent you have there. Where'd you say you're from again?" "I didn't say that, Aaron. I said, let's splint off my leg, please, and I'll tell you all about this. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters, right?" The reason why I'm telling this story, Aaron, is I learned 3 lessons from this experience. The first lesson being, let's not pass that clicker back and forth. That's a bad idea. Second lesson being, let's tie the splint off of the hip, not the ankle. That way I can untie this shit that's happened going forwards. And the third and probably most profound lesson I learned from this was let's always be solutions oriented. When things go sideways in life, which they will inevitably, focus on how you can resolve your issue then and there, and then backtrack to figure out why it happened. But the moment of contact, how do you fix your problem? How do you solve your issue? With the splint, I was walking home with the Wilson. Moved up to the Zimmer frame, which is a 4-post walker you kind of lurch forward on, like Frankenstein. Then moved up to the Ferrari. Now, a Ferrari was a 4-wheeled walker and Ferrari race in red, so I called it my Ferrari. I'm not going fast, but for me, this is grease lightning. I was ripping around the hallways. This was awesome. Then I moved up to naked walks. Now, what's a naked walk, you may ask? I'm walking without sporter aids, but I was walking naked. So I would tell people I'm going for a naked walk, and they're like, "Dad, I don't think you can do that in the hospital." I'm like, "No, it's chill, don't worry. I got a special pass." Then I moved up to walking in Tooting Broadway. So, Aaron, I want to ask you, have you been to London, England?
I have not.
Okay. Well, Tooting Broadway is an area in South London, an area they call up and coming. Think loud sirens, drugs, gangs. It's dirty, it's hectic, and boys are busy. Walk with a cane, Walking with an eye patch. After 4 months in a wheelchair, I'm literally Bambi on ice. I turn the corner to walk on the high street for the first time, immediately get slammed into by someone. Stagger back a few feet. Someone scurries past me on the right hand side. I thought I was done with the rats. Someone had been stabbed on the sidewalk over here. I'm thinking, it's a pretty wild place in her to walk. After a few days, I was thinking, this is the worst place in her to walk in the world. Can't they see I'm trying to walk here? Can't they see I'm trying here? And then one day my perspective shifted. Maybe this isn't the worst place in her to walk in the world. Maybe this is the best. If I can walk here, I can walk anywhere. But Toon Broadway didn't change, right? I went from the worst to the best in my mind, and my mood reflected that. What are you looking at in your life you're convinced is the worst? Convinced is the absolute worst. Hey, maybe it is. Or maybe you can find a way to turn down the suck a little bit. Shift that perspective a little bit. Iron Mike Tyson famously said, everyone's got a plan till they get punched in the face. In the mouth, actually. Now, your punch may not be a brain hemorrhage, right? Facts. It will be a job loss, a breakup, a diagnosis for you or a loved one. You will take that punch in the mouth. How you respond. I offer a compass, not a map, but a compass. It always points towards true north. I look at things like mindset, perspective, and hacks. Hacks allow you and your team to be better than yesterday, tomorrow. My name's Dan McQueen, and the reason why I told you that story about learning to walk and tune Broadway is when you change the way you look at the world you look at changes. And you don't need a brain hemorrhage to understand that.
Mm-hmm. Totally
So that's
agree.
a story I share about perspective shifting and like just to show you the grind that it was to get back to walking. Like this was the worst and now the best. And like when that switch happened, like the contact, the strife, the struggle, it really fueled me. It was like, I'm getting better about this. Thank you for the contact. Thank you for the strife. Thank you for the struggle. You're making me better. The shift in your mindset was everything. The worst and now the best.
Yeah, I I agree with that wholeheartedly, Daniel. I had a well defined in my mind moment when my perspective changed and I began to understand that realities are ours, and so my reality is mine, yours is yours, and having perspective. And then I took it back to understanding that if I'm not looking at things the right way, so if I'm always looking at the negative side of things, then that's all I'm going to learn about. And if I look at the positive side of things, it's going to open up the avenues for me to learn probably the answers to my problems, which has been laying around me, that I wasn't paying attention to them because my perspective was jacked. So I really appreciate you sharing all that with us. So I was able to turn my life around after my son passed away. Like, it was hard, it was awful, but I learned that the positivity that I've been able to find and grow from has a name. And it's basically the opposite of post traumatic disorder, PTSD, we all know it as. And it's known as post traumatic positive. So I'd like to ask you how you've been able to turn your brain injuries into your post traumatic positive. And I know you got a little into it now, just shifting mindset, shifting perspective, but a little more. Like, how have you shifted that into a positive? People will look at me, Aaron, how do you take your kid dying and shift it into a positive? And I tell them, unless there's a time machine that I could use to go back and change the facts, he's gone. And since then, I've been able to learn more than I've learned my entire life. And I'm very thankful for that. And it's been able to get me to the point where I'm helping other people. I'm doing this and I'm writing. So how have you been able to do that, man? And what does it look like?
It's a great question, Aaron. It takes a lot of work and it's very difficult to do. I don't want this to sound like it's easy. I say it's simple, not easy.
Mm-hmm.
Simple to decide that I'm going to look at the positive here, not easy to do so. When your world's screaming and colliding at you, telling you, you're in a bad way here. Like the hospital, I'll tell you the story about the hospital. So, daytime the hospital is one thing, night times are another thing entirely. Daytime the doctors are there, your family's there, your friends are there to visit you and support you and cheer you on. But the nights, man, the nights still haunt me today. The first night in the ICU, there's the wails of the patients, the inmates. Well, the patients, not the inmates, but they're sort of inmates. Wailing, their lives are shattered on the rocks, like they've got no hope. And this haunted me, and I couldn't tell anyone about this because no one can help you navigate this space. It's like, you got to go through this yourself. It can be like, oh, my parents are very loving and caring, and they want to help me through everything, but it's like I can't whine to them about, it's quite scary at night because like people are just beside themselves. They're wailing and crying in the nighttime. It took me a few nights to get used to this and to start putting on headphones and just kind of get in my own space and watch movies or meditate and just kind of get my own vibe. But it took a lot to navigate that and to like reposition that in a positive way. But when I woke up that first day in the hospital being told what happened to me, you had a brain hemorrhage, Can't walk, talk, or smile. They didn't tell me I couldn't smile, but I looked in the mirror, man. Let me tell you, it was a pretty rough smile at the time, pretty big grimace. But I quickly realized that it's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters. The brain injury didn't kill me, right? Came pretty close, but it didn't kill me. And I realized it's what you think about it now that matters more than what it was. If you can reposition your life as to like, you get to do this. Like, I'm only alive now because this blip was in my DNA, right? I'm only Dan McQueen because I had this brain hemorrhage, or this cyst growing on my pineal gland. I'm only alive because of that. I can't wish it didn't happen because it wouldn't be me. See, the odds of being a human being are 400 trillion to 1. Aaron, that's a staggering number. I had to look at how many zeros that was. Much more than I'll ever earn in my lifetime, but it's a staggering number. You're more likely to win the lottery like a million times in your life in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
You're lucky enough to get a card, let's say, around the poker table, let's say. I'm not going to muck the hand because I don't want one of my cards. I'm going to play the hand I've got. And when you reframe your mind around this, you get to do this. This happened for you, not to you. You grow from this experience. You relish the struggle, the strife. I guess I'm leveling up now. Every setback I have now, as I say this to myself, I guess I'm leveling up. I've got to elevate and ratchet myself up to the new level where I'm playing at.
Mm-hmm.
And that fight mentality, that dog mentality is with me. And I don't know if you can foster this if you're not a resilient person to begin with, but I've got some hacks on how you can foster resiliency that I find help people navigate this space. And that's keeping promises to yourself. It's not mine, that's Alex Hormozzi's. He says, outwork your self-doubt and build it up by proving you do see what you can do. Every day, I meditate for 20 minutes, but I start with 2 minutes in the morning. Next week I did 4, then 6, then 8, then 10, then 12, then 14, then 16, then 18, then 20, then 22, 24, then 26. I started at 20 now, but you ratchet this up week after week. I go in the pool 3 times a week, Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
I swim lengths. When I get in the pool, I set an intention for how many lengths I want to swim. I got a lap counter, so it's pretty bulletproof in counting my laps. Not always, but it's pretty good when it works. And I get in the pool and I set an intention. I want to do 40 laps, 50 laps, 60 laps, 70 laps, 80 laps. I owe those lengths, save one exception, Aaron. And I'm very strict with this exception. If there's a backstroker in my lane, I will bounce out of that mother anytime. I've got a pass to bounce out of that lane because they just annoy the hell out of me. But I owe those things. And I prove to myself time after time, day after day, week after week, that I do what I say I'm going to do. And then you build this stack of evidence that shows you are what you say you're going to do. My word to myself is everything. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Your word is your bond. Jocko Willink, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's
Sure.
a big guy that I love.
No, he's awesome.
He's got this great video called Good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. But
yeah, I'm familiar. You can go ahead and talk about it, but it's an awesome one.
It's a wicked video, right? And essentially the video just breaks down. I recommend that you check out the video on YouTube, Jocko Willink Good. But I'll paraphrase, and pardon me, Jocko, if I butcher your story here, but everything bad that happens is always something good that comes from it. Good because of this, good because of that. If you can find that nugget in your life, it makes all the difference. I was going to a cafe in London in Shepherd's Bush, having big headphones on, which didn't connect to the call today, unfortunately. But they died the second I left the house. Power off. And I go, good. I'm close by the house. I can get the charger. Had I been in the cafe, I'd be with headphones for 3-4 hours. And I really wanted to listen to some podcasts and get some work done. But the Instagram frame is good. There'll always be some good that happens from stuff that happens in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So shifting your mindset to attract the good and to reflect the bad. There'll always be something good that happens because something bad happened. But you have to choose and force yourself to kind of navigate and see that light at the end of the tunnel. That makes sense. Right?
No, yeah, I totally get it. And I'd like to kind of get your perspective on this. So I am, among other things, our why. So, just looking at me, I decided I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was tired of being depressed all the time and swallowed by anxiety everywhere I went. And so I knew some things had to change. You talk about how hard the journey is, and I second that. I have not been through what you've been through. I've not had to learn to rewalk or any of that stuff. And I commend you for all the hard work you've done, because it's pretty amazing. And I've talked to men who've had traumatic brain injuries, and they're really, when they're talking to me, they really are stuck. And I get it. It's really, really tough. But you've been able to see the optimism and see the good and understand that. What are some things you can share with people that would help them? I don't want to insult anybody, but kind of get off the victim chair and say, all right, I'm not a victim. This is just how things are, and I'm going to overcome this. So, what were some of the driving things that helped you in doing that, even with all the very large hurdles that you had to overcome?
So I'm going to say something that's probably going to bite some people, and they're not going to like me for saying it, but I'm going to say it anyways. A AAA framework to navigate resilience and adversity in your life. AAA, acknowledge, accept, and adapt. Acknowledge. You got to believe with your mind, it happened to me. Acknowledge that this thing happened. The brain injury happened. Acknowledge is the first A. The second A is acceptance. Your heart. You got to feel it with your body. This happened to me. This is real. If you don't accept it, you can't take steps to improve it. Acceptance is so key for this, and it's this tough one to say because we're like, they don't know my story. And you're right, I don't know your story, but I'm telling you from my experience with my whole heart, acceptance is the absolute key.
Mm-hmm.
The last one is adapt. You have to adapt to your new limitations, your new surroundings, your new reality. But only by accepting it can you adapt to your surroundings. If you don't acknowledge it or accept it, you're still stuck at square one. You can wish something was not there, but it's still going to be the same 6 months later. And you can winch about it for 6 months, but you can take steps to improve a lot every day. I lost my job 2 summers ago from Hootsuite, part of a corporate restructuring. Brother messaged me, he goes, Dan, sorry to hear about your job loss, but knowing you, this will be a blip in the pan. I went for a lunch, boozy lunch, had a few margaritas, decided I'm a keynote speaker tomorrow, which means I need a computer today. Went down to the Apple Store, bought a computer that day. The first setback that I had took a few months to get over, I'll be honest. Second setback, which I'll touch on in a minute here, took about, I say a month, but probably a little longer than that. But the mindset was never compromised. It was just a bit tough at times. The job loss took me an afternoon to make my peace with it and decide that I'm a speaker tomorrow. And I wasn't over the job loss in that afternoon. I made the choice in my mind to accept it and to accept to rectify my lot. So this AAA framework is very key to adapt, acknowledge, accept, and adapt. If you can follow that, man, you can handle anything. Anything. Like now I look at my life and I'm like, what are you going to come at me with that I can't overcome or can't surpass? The mindset is so pure, but the mindset is everything. What you think about it is everything. That story about walking into Broadway, man, that was the worst place on earth to walk in the world. Can't I see him trying to walk here? Maybe this is the best. Like reframing that and shifting that perspective is everything.
Mm-hmm.
But you do that by reframing and proving yourself that you do what you're going to do. By putting the work day in, day out. You can't, there's no shortcuts to the work, I'm afraid. And that's tough to hear and that's tough to navigate, but every day I woke up and I just had this fire in my belly to get back to life and challenge it. So challenge is another thing I want to talk about as well, Aaron, and that's something you gotta like kind of accept and navigate through. So I used to, well, I wear an eye patch now. I had eye surgery a little while ago, backfired on me. I'm back to wearing the eye patch now, but I used to wear the eye patch. And I went on safari in South Africa, wore a contact lens to block the eye in my vision of one eye to prevent the vision from happening. I decided that dust and dirt would get my eye in South Africa, so I left the contact lens at home. I was just fine, so I retired the contact lens. Went home to Vancouver when I was living in London. I used to walk around with a cane all the time, wore the cane because that was stabilizing me. It was helping me. I managed just fine without the cane, so I retired the cane. I used to shower with a bath mat to help me balance. This bath mat, and I'd hang it up in the bathtub afterwards and hang it on the wall to dry. And every day I saw that bath mat, I thought, you know what, you're not good enough to stand in the shower, bud. This bath mat tells you that you're not stable enough, safe enough, secure enough to have a shower. Like, get over yourself, man. One day I decided I'm not going to use the bath mat anymore. I don't need this thing to tell me I'm not good enough to shower. So I told my parents I'm not using the bath mat anymore. This is ridiculous. Oh no, Dan, you gotta wear the bath mat. It's safe for safety. It's for safety. I ditched the bath mat. You know what else is fine? So I retired the bath mat. Challenging your preconceived notions is what you have to do in a safe way. Don't be jumping out of cars or something crazy like this, but like only by testing the boundaries of what your limitations are can you overcome and surpass them. By risking failure, you can achieve greatness. But you have to risk it, and it's a terrifying thing to do. Like I'm a speaker now. I speak on stage, and I'm not a natural speaker. I'd say I trained work for Hootsuite for 10 years, so I'm pretty good with that. But in front of an audience with a couple hundred people with two double visions, one eye is fluttering like crazy. It's a pretty wild vibe, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm terrified to do it, but I do it because that's the way. The way out is through. You have to do this. I've decided I'm a speaker now, so like, guess what, Dan? You're gonna be a speaker. You can't be afraid to go on stage. You got to kind of sack up and deal with it, which is a bit insensitive maybe to some people, but like that's how I've navigated this, and like I stand by this because I'm here now because I've done this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here now because I believe this with my mind and my heart, and I navigated this change and this adversity. So that's my perspective on that. Aaron, thank you.
Yeah, I like the acronym, the AAA acronym. It's something, especially here in the States, we're all familiar with AAA.
Oh yeah.
But taking that and what was it again? It was accountability, acceptance, and action, or
So
adaptability.
acknowledge, accept, and adapt.
Acknowledge, accept, and adapt.
And
Yeah,
it goes from the head, the heart, and the hands.
yeah.
to kind of show you the way you have to approach adversity. Acknowledge, accept it with your heart, and then adapt to your surroundings. So I've got a Whoop strap now. I trust my rest, recovery, and strain. I'm not affiliated with Whoop in any way, but if you want to get at me, Whoop, I'd be happy to indulge in conversation. But I use this every day to track my rest and recovery, and I base my day on how I've rested. With a brain injury, there's limitations I've got now, like the battery is 75%, and it drains much faster than yours. Below 50, I'm less pleasant. Below 40, I'm a bit of a prick. And I've got to take a nap to recharge my battery or get myself back up to where I'm at today. If I've slept poorly, I'll punt any workouts that I planned. I'll rest. Because I know if I push through it, I'll fail. And I've learned this by trial and error, falling down 7 times, getting up 8. But only by risking failure can you stretch yourself and grow. And I fail a lot of times, Aaron, but less and less so now because I've kept pushing the boundaries. I am a big, hairy, audacious goal I achieved 2 years ago was skiing on Grouse Mountain. I grew up, I was a big ski racer, was a ski instructor after university. In the hospital, early days from the brain injury, they asked me what I want to get back to doing. I thought about it. What's the most difficult thing I get back to doing that's realistic, right? Let's play soccer, hockey, volleyball, softball, skiing. I thought skiing would be the most difficult. Balance, core strength, depth perception would make things interesting. Judging obstacles at speed, if I could ski in, I'd have to be in a pretty way physically, I thought. A pretty good way physically, I thought. So I told them, I want to ski again. I'm in a wheelchair at the stage, right? Walk on the even bars. They go, okay. Not in agreement. 2 winters ago, I went up the hill. Spring, March. Springtime conditions, about the season in the shop, they get waxed. They get sharpened, but they couldn't adjust my bindings. They told me those were too old to be worked on. For liability reasons, they couldn't touch them. The bindings hold your feet to the skis. Mm-hmm. I used to ski a lot of steep stuff, so I wanted tough skis to break off because I didn't want to fall because the skis told me I fell. I wanted to fall because I fell. Mm-hmm. When you're skiing groomers, you kind of want them to break off so your knees don't twist, and that's how you get all your injuries, is your knees twisting on skiing, right? Late in the season, late in the year, in March, end of March 31st, took a stab. Andrew and RJ, based the Grouse Mountain Super Sky Ride. Beautiful bluebird day. Going up the Grouse Mountain Super Sky Ride, I remember an old hack as an instructor and a ski racer. To be the last one on the gondola. That way you can rest your skis and your poles and the doors are closed behind you. And ride up hands-free. It's phenomenal. On the gondola ride going up, over the first tower, big forwards. Big back. We're climbing up the hill, and I get a bit worried. What if it doesn't come back? I look like a fool. Thinking you can ski again, and this is kind of an audacious goal. Now, if you close your eyes, I'll take you to the last leg of that gondola ride. Feel a nip of cold in your cheeks. Not a lot, but enough to, at altitude. You're at a dock at the station, you walk through the station with your gear. Clomp, 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 clomp. Open the doors into a wall of sunshine. Big inhale. Smell the trees, the fresh air, the snow. Down the stairs, clang, clang, clang onto the snow. Crunch, crunch, crunch. It's soft back, it's spring, remember. Get situated with the boys, Andrew and RJ. And after 10 years off the slopes, I ripped it like I never missed a day. I had visualized this so many times. I had worked on the balance board. I had incrementally built myself back up, and I skied like I never missed a day. The video is phenomenal. I'm so happy and proud that I was able to do this because I said it out loud. I said I was going to do this, and I did it, man. 10 years on from the last ski trip, it was phenomenal. Best day I've had since brain injury. And I tell that goal because it was a moonshot goal. It wasn't possible in my mind. I couldn't do this. But I aimed big, and I chased it down one step at a time. And I skied, man. I didn't ski last year because the season was pretty rubbish, but I'm going to try and ski this year if I can. Now, mind you, this is like I'm skiing groomers, I'm skiing blues, I'm not skiing blacks and whatnot in the sun because the vision's pretty bad. But man, I skied. There's no way they thought I'd be skiing. I seen the video of my old doctor, and he goes, "Oh, fantastic, Dan. I didn't think this was possible for you." But I chased this down incrementally, step by step. How do you reach audacious goals? By having smaller goals beneath them. Don't go for the moonshot goal off the hop. Build it up. Balance boards. Visualization, inch by inch, row by row, you build this up.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. I love goals are so huge, and setting them tells our bodies and mind and all of us where we're going. And so when we deviate from a path that gets us to those, everything in us is saying, "Hey, what the hell are we doing? Why are we not, why are we not doing the balance board? Why are we not, trying to exercise so that we can get our strength up?" So I love that. And that gets me to, so I'm big on, we set our goals and then we set a routine up to get to the goals. And we follow that routine. That way we're not overwhelmed by the loftiness of the goal, or, we're not upset because we haven't taken large enough steps, quote unquote, in a day or two or a week on a 5-year goal. So routines are huge, and I understand that. And I can only imagine that from your injuries, the side effects and all the stuff you went through, how grueling your recovery was. And I'm sure you had a pretty wild routine. I would liken it to that of a professional sports athlete who has to, their body is everything, and yours was more of survival than sport, obviously. But we learn a lot in survival, and I know this. So, what was your routine like then? And what are some essentials today that have to be part of the routine? And I respect that. I really like the analogy you gave, that you're kind of like a damaged battery that can only charge at 75%. And that, as we all know, a phone battery, whatever, the older that thing gets, the less it's going to hold and the faster it's going to die. And that's kind of what you're dealing with. So I can really envision what you're dealing with, Dan. And what are some essentials on a, give us a good day. So on a good day, what are the essentials that have to be in your routine? And then could you share some of the grueling? And I want you to share some of the grueling, because I know I've got listeners who have been through some traumatic brain injuries, and they aren't, I don't know if they're doing all the things you did. And I would like for you to know, like you said, the philosophies are easy. It's the implementation that's so difficult.
Yeah, so in the hospital, the routine was very simple. It was just you're on their schedule, you're on their time frame. But I would always do the work that they would ask me to do and to try what they said to do. You could fake it and make it look like I tried to get in the wheelchair a bit faster, but I could fake it, right? Be like, oh, I'm trying harder. But the pain was excruciating, right? Your bodies are surging, the muscles are tensing. You can't move. Your body's not listening to you. Like, move this leg here, and you can't move that. So initially, the routine was just get in the wheelchair in 35 minutes, not 40. Then 30, not 35. Then 20, not 30. It was incrementally ratcheting this up day in, day out. The work is relentless and it's tiresome, but you get to fight this every day. The key is to fight the battle every day. The hospital routine was very gruesome. I remember being wheeled into the shower in a wheelchair, very unharmoniously. You're wrapped in this towel and you're wheeled into a wheelchair in this like waterproof wheelchair, and you get showered off in the shower, and drying yourself in the wheelchair, with a towel, and the aides are there to help you, and you're just like, this is not humiliating, but like demeaning, and like you're just like, man, I've fallen pretty far here.
Mm-hmm.
But you do it, you improve inch by inch, row by row, day in, day out, by getting in the wheelchair a bit faster, by improving a little bit. Incremental improvements compound over time. The Atomic Habits, James Clear is very clear for this. Recommend you all check out that book. You don't eat an elephant by, eating the elephant all in one go. You do it one bite at a time, one step at a time, and you build it up. Now my routine is very much based on trial and error. What I've learned works for me, and maybe different for you. I wake up, I'll go to the washroom, have a nice shower, and the shower cold for 1 to 2 minutes. Nothing heroic here, but nothing. Something I really hated initially. I really didn't like the cold, but now I crave the cold. It's kind of a difficult thing that you set yourself an intention to do in the morning, and you do it. Like, I've done something hard today. I can do hard things. I get up and make my bed. Every day I make my bed. I never did make my bed growing up, but now I do every day because it's an intention I set.
Mm-hmm.
It paves the way for more success. The last thing you do in the day is get into bed. Hey, I accomplished that in the morning. But you make the bed, have a big breakfast. Well, then I go for meditation, 20-minute meditation. I go for breakfast. But if I sleep poorly, and I know I've got an exercise day, so I'm going swimming tonight. So if I slept poorly last night, I had a call this morning, so I wouldn't sleep in, but I paced my day around how I slept, which is why the whoop strap's helpful. And there is probably some bias in the whoop strap for sure. You kind of embody how you're feeling based on what the whoop says, but I've got to kind of take it on board more than I would negate it now, because the battery's just not what it used to be, and I got to kind of respect the battery.
Mm-hmm.
But only by trial and error do you realize where this level is for you, and you got to ratchet up to that point and push past it sometimes, and then drop below that. And now I'm right at the battery now where I can handle. But only by trial and error do I figure this out. Only by risking failure and failing do I hit this plateau. And there's no shortcuts really for that. It's just about figuring out what's best for you. Self-awareness is very key, very important for this. I don't know if that answers your question, Aaron, but that's kind of what I'm at with this now.
No, it did. You answered my question, and I'm appreciative. I'm inspired by what you've had to go through. I'm inspired by your ability to overcome, and I love the fact that you're using it as a platform. I think I do the same thing, Dan. I was one who would, I would, confirmation bias. So if you were affirming what I believed, that I was supposed to be depressed and anxious all the time, if you were affirming that, then we were talking and I was listening. When somebody was telling me, how long are you just going to lay around depressed? Like, how long are you going to live like this? Is, when are you going to get on with things? And I very quickly quit back. Is that what you did when you lost your child? Obviously, they hadn't lost a child. And so I knew that there was no answer for that question. And they were giving me good advice, but I was ignoring it in my victim mentality. And I believe that with your story and with my story, they're in the extreme nature, and that allows us to have some skin on the wall that says, look, bro, I may not have gone through exactly what you went through, but I went through some hard shit and I got through it. And I really respect what you're doing, and I respect how you're motivating people out there, and I'm appreciative, and I'm so happy that you've been able to get to the quality of life that you have, and that you're able to reach and set and reach goals. And I'm sure you're still doing that every day. Like, it's really, it's inspirational, and I'm appreciative. So before we wrap up here, I'm going to be putting a link to your website. That's McQueenDan.com. That's MacQueenDan.com in the description portion of this episode. Can you tell the listeners what we would find on your website when we visit it? And please share anything else you'd like for us to know about you. What you got going, what you got coming up, things like that.
Yeah, so I'm a speaker based in North Vancouver, BC, Canada. The website's got my demo reel. It's a bit dated now, it's a bit older, but there's some really good videos on YouTube as well. Show some stories from bigger stages and more comprehensive stories. The story I showed about walking between Broadways, recorded on the website. But you can, if there's a contact form there, you can reach out and discuss where to talk and look up for your group. I do a lot of online talks as well. I used to train for Hootsuite for 10 years, so I've been over 1,000 sessions online. Pretty good at running a session online and conveying the feelings I invoke with this conversation. Gave a keynote last month for Service Canada, which is an online keynote. I gave a 99% success rate. People that 111 to 112 found it useful. One sourpuss did not find it so useful. But I kind of like that, because the message I talk about is ownership, extreme ownership. It's on me. It's on you. Don't whine, don't complain, don't whinge about it. Don't be a victim. Like, get after it. And it kind of shows me this message, some people don't want to hear that. One person didn't want to hear that. So it's a passion project, a passion that is deep inside me. Service is what I want to live for now. I want to show you the way out is through. Because I had a lot of help doing this, Aaron. Like, I had a ton of help. And if you don't have the help, man, I don't know how you get through this spot. Like, I don't know how you navigate this at all. Family came over from Vancouver to London for 2 years to help me get through this stuff. Maybe 2.5 years to help me get through rehab and all the noise of that. But, like, day by day, inch by inch, road by road, it's better than yesterday is what I say. Better than yesterday.
Yeah.
If you can do that time after time, week after week, month after month, year after year, you've got staggering gains over the 10-year process. I'm 10 years out from the brain injury now, right? Well, from the first brain injury. The second brain injury we didn't talk about, but that's a bit of a setback. I can talk about that if you want, Aaron, on the show. So after a year of recovery, rehab, like grueling rehab, incrementally my way back up to work. I was at 2.5 days a week at work at Hootsuite, 3.5 days a week at Hootsuite. I meet my mom at the 2 before I went to work in the morning. She'd go off on a walk and I go to work. One morning I didn't show up, and she called my cell, no response, walked to my flat, about 5 minutes away from Gold Talk Road tube station. Hammersmith City Line, showed it out. She found me unconscious on the floor, called 999, which is 911 in the States. I was rushed to the hospital, had emergency brain surgery. The shunt that's in my head had blocked, leading to hydrocephalus, or water in the brain. Required another emergency brain surgery. Woke up the next day hearing the beeping noise of the heart monitor going off behind me, beep, beep, beep. What happened? Well, Dan, you had a second setback. What do you mean? The shunt blocked in your brain. We got the blockage. And I go, all my progress is washed away? Well, we got the blockage down. The carpet was ripped from underneath my legs. I describe my recovery like a W, Aaron. First setback's down here. I kind of scamper back up about halfway back up. Second setback's not where the first one was, much lower. The depths of the human experience. Hopes and dreams are snickered at. You thought you had your chance, bud. This thing clawed me and brought me back down. I was low for, a few months after this. All the gains were washed away. But I knew in my mind that I could get those gains. I could rehab better. I could be better at this. And it wasn't overnight. It wasn't instantaneous, but it was day in, day out, chopping wood, carrying water. And that's what I call work. On the mindset, on the prize, the focus, the drive. You gotta put the work in to make this happen. It's not gonna be given to you, but by building this up, now I'm on the ascent part of this W, right? I'm climbing back up. And I'm such a better person now because of this brain injury. It's giving me perspective, it's giving me purpose, it's giving me drive. And I want to share the message because I want to show you that you can do this too. I did these brain scans last year, Health Tech Connect at Brain Injury Clinic in Surrey, BC, Canada. They put this cap on your head and they inject it with gel and they ask you all these questions like cucumber, barbecue, microphone, thermos. And see if your brain fires, right?
Mm-hmm.
The results came back as average. 2 brain injuries average, right? It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I read this as shockingly average, Aaron. I'm shockingly average. I'm no better than anyone that I speak with or better than anyone that I talk to. I've just been successful because I'm toes over the nose of my board riding this wave down and I'm making this work day in, day out. But it's like, that was pretty, a bit of a knock initially, like, oh, I'm just average. But then I realized, it's actually a good thing because like, that means that you can do this too. Everything I talk about is something you can do as well because I'm not better or gifted than anyone here. I'm just speaking about the purpose and drive that I've driven and continue to drive with on this in this journey.
Yeah, it's we get setbacks or something, but when it's something traumatic and then you have another setback, that's a lot of times devastating to people, and it can completely railroad their experience, their recovery, and all that. So that's, again, pretty phenomenal you were able to come through that. I'm sure I'm appreciative that you were on with me today. I thank you for sharing your story. I thank you for what you're out here doing to help people. Everybody needs to go check your stuff out, and wish nothing but the best to you for the rest of the ride, man.
Aaron, thank you for your time, and congrats to you, man. It's a very difficult road you've navigated, and sharing this message is quite important. I'm quite a big proponent of men's work and men's health.
Yeah.
And I think this is a big, important conversation that people need to hear and to have. So thank you for the work you're doing, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thank you so much. And everybody listening, thank you so much for your time. I know it's your most valuable asset, and I know that Dan and I have tried our hardest to bring value to the time that you've allotted for us, and we sure are appreciative of that. And until next time, have a great day.
Cheers.